Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Daily English Learn. I'm Eva.
And I'm Mark. Great to have you here with us today.
You know, Mark, I was talking to one of our listeners yesterday, and she told me something really interesting. She said, Eva, I can read English pretty well now. I understand grammar. But when someone asks me about my year, about my experiences, I just freeze. I don't know how to express my real feelings in English.
That's such a common problem, Eva. And you know what? It's because most English courses teach us to say things like, I had a good year, or it was nice. But nobody actually talks like that in real life, right?
Exactly. When your colleague asks you at work, hey, how was your year? They're not looking for one boring sentence. They want to hear something real, something human. And today, that's exactly what we're going to help you with.
By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to describe your entire year naturally in English, not with textbook sentences, but with the kind of English that native speakers actually use when they're being honest about their lives.
We're going to teach you how to talk about the difficult moments, the happy moments, and the little lessons you learned. And we'll give you tons of real phrases and sentence patterns you can use immediately.
So whether you're preparing for a job interview, getting ready for English conversations with friends, or you just want to journal in English, this episode is going to change how you express yourself.
All right, Mark, let me start with a question that I think many learners struggle with. When someone asks you, how do you feel about this past year? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Honestly, Eva, I think most people feel two things at the same time. They feel tired, but they also feel like they accomplished something. It's not all good, and it's not all bad. It's mixed.
Mixed. That's a perfect word. And you know what? That's exactly the kind of honest answer that sounds natural in English. You don't have to pretend everything was perfect. In fact, native speakers almost never do that.
Right. So let me teach you a really useful pattern here. When you want to express two opposite feelings at the same time, you can say, I feel blank, but I also feel blank. Let me give you an example. I feel exhausted, but I also feel proud of what I did.
Perfect. Let's practice that pattern a few more times so it really sticks in your memory. I feel stressed, but I also feel grateful. Say that with me slowly. I feel stressed, but I also feel grateful.
Here's another one. I feel disappointed, but I also feel hopeful about the future. Listen again. I feel disappointed, but I also feel hopeful about the future.
Now, here's something really important. When you're talking about your year, people want to hear specific stories, not general statements. So instead of saying, I had some challenges, try saying, there was one week where everything hit me at the same time.
Oh, that's so much better, Eva, because now the listener is curious. They want to know more. What happened in that week? What do you mean by everything?
Exactly. So let's talk about how to describe a difficult moment properly. This is where most learners get stuck. They know something was hard, but they don't know how to paint the picture in English.
Right, so here's a structure that works beautifully. First, you set the scene with time. You say when it happened. Then you describe what was happening. And finally, you describe how you felt inside.
Let me show you what that sounds like in practice. There was one particular week in September. Everything came crashing down at once. My work deadline, some family issues, financial stress, all of it landed on me at the same time. I remember waking up and immediately feeling my chest get tight. I felt like I couldn't breathe properly.
Wow, Eva, that's powerful. And notice how specific that was? She didn't just say, I was stressed. She showed us the stress through details. The chest getting tight, the feeling of not being able to breathe. That's real English.
And here's another phrase that's incredibly useful when describing tough times. You can say, I was running on empty. That means you had no energy left. You were completely drained.
Let me put that in a sentence. By the end of November, I was completely running on empty. I had nothing left to give. Do you hear how natural that sounds?
Now, there's another expression that comes up a lot when people talk about stressful periods. They say, I was spread too thin. This means you were trying to do too many things, and you couldn't do any of them properly because your attention was divided.
Right. Here's an example. I was working 2 jobs, taking care of my parents, and trying to study English on the side. I was spread too thin, and everything suffered.
Let's pause here for a moment and think about you, our listener. Can you think of one difficult moment from your year? Don't worry about finding perfect English words right now. Just think about when it was, what was happening, and how your body felt.
Maybe it was a moment when you felt completely exhausted. Maybe it was when you had too much responsibility on your shoulders. Maybe it was when you felt alone or misunderstood.
Now, here's a simple way to start talking about it in English. Use this sentence starter. One of the hardest moments for me was when, and then just describe it simply. One of the hardest moments for me was when I had to work late every single night for 2 weeks straight.
Or one of the hardest moments for me was when I felt like nobody understood what I was going through. These don't have to be dramatic, they just have to be true.
All right, now let's shift gears, because life isn't only about the hard stuff, right? There were good moments too. And in English, we need to learn how to celebrate those moments without sounding like we're bragging.
That's such an important point, Eva, because many learners are afraid to talk about good things. They think it sounds like showing off, but there's a way to share happiness that feels warm and humble.
Exactly. So here's a beautiful phrase you can use. One moment that really stands out to me is, this phrase is perfect because it sounds reflective, not boastful. You're just sharing a memory that meant something to you.
Let me give you an example. One moment that really stands out to me is the evening I spent with my old friends. We didn't do anything fancy. We just cooked dinner together, told old stories, and laughed until our stomachs hurt.
Oh, I love that, Mart. And notice the details again. He didn't just say, I had fun with friends. He painted the whole scene. Cooking together, old stories, laughing until your stomach hurts. That's the kind of English that makes people feel connected to you.
Here's another way to talk about a happy moment. You can say, I felt completely at peace when, and then describe the situation. I felt completely at peace when I was sitting by the lake, watching the sun go down with no agenda and nowhere to be.
At peace. That's such a lovely expression. It means you felt calm, content, and free from worry. Let's say it again slowly. I felt completely at peace. I felt completely at peace.
Now, sometimes the best moments aren't big events. They're tiny little things that touched your heart. And in English, we have a perfect way to describe these. We say, it was a small thing, but it meant the world to me.
Oh, yes. Let me use that in a sentence. My student sent me a message saying my lessons helped her get a job. It was a small thing, but it meant the world to me. It reminded me why I do this work.
That phrase, it meant the world to me, is so powerful. It shows that something was deeply significant to you emotionally, and people really connect with that kind of honesty.
All right, so now you know how to talk about a difficult moment and a happy moment. But here's where the conversation gets really interesting. This is where you talk about what you learned.
Right, because every year teaches us something, doesn't it? Even if we don't realize it at first. And when you can express your lessons in English, you sound mature, thoughtful, and wise.
So here's a simple pattern. This year taught me that, and then you complete it with your insight. This year taught me that I can't do everything alone. I need to ask for help sometimes.
Let me give another example. This year taught me that rest is not laziness. Taking care of my mental health is just as important as working hard.
Those are beautiful lessons, Mark. And notice how simple the grammar is. You don't need complex vocabulary to sound profound. You just need to be honest.
Here's another way to express what you learned. You can say, I realized that the people who truly care about me will stick around even when I'm not perfect.
Or, I realized that saying no to some things means saying yes to what really matters. Let's repeat that one together because it's so useful. I realized that saying no to some things means saying yes to what really matters.
Now, Eva, I want to talk about something that many English learners do wrong when they describe their year. They try to make everything sound positive and motivational, like they're giving a TED Talk.
Oh, yes, I see this all the time. They say things like, "This year was amazing. I grew so much. I'm so blessed. Everything was perfect." And it just sounds fake.
Exactly. Real English conversations about your year should feel balanced. You share the struggles and the victories, the confusion and the clarity, the disappointments and the surprises.
So let me teach you a phrase that helps you sound balanced and real. You can say, "If I'm being honest," and then you share something true that might not be all positive. If I'm being honest, I still don't have everything figured out. Some days I feel lost.
That's so much more relatable, Eva, because guess what? Everyone feels that way sometimes. And when you admit it in English, people trust you more. They feel like they can be real with you too.
Here's another honest phrase. I'm still working on being kinder to myself when I make mistakes. Or, I'm still working on not comparing my life to other people's highlight reels on social media.
Now, let's talk about how to discuss the future, because usually when people ask about your year, the conversation naturally moves toward what's coming next. And this is where many learners panic.
Right, because they think they need to have this perfect, impressive plan, but actually, the most natural way to talk about the future in English is to keep it simple and realistic.
So here's a phrase that works perfectly. Moving forward, I want to. Moving forward, I want to protect my energy more carefully. I want to say no to things that drain me.
Or, moving forward, I want to have more conversations like this one, real conversations where people actually share what's in their hearts.
Another way to talk about the future is to use the phrase, I'm hoping to. I'm hoping to build 1 or 2 really deep friendships instead of having 100 shallow connections.
I love that, Mark, and see how that doesn't sound like a rigid plan? It sounds like a gentle intention. That's how real people talk.
Now, here's something really important. When you're describing your year in English, you don't have to tell the whole story in one go. You can pause. You can think. You can even say, let me think about that for a second.
Yes, that's such a relief for learners to hear because they think they have to be perfect and fluent immediately, but real conversations have pauses.
You can say things like, how do I put this? Or, give me a second to find the right words. These phrases actually make you sound more natural, not less fluent.
And if you forget a word, you can describe it instead. Let's say you can't remember the word overwhelmed. You can say, I felt like there was too much on my plate, like my brain couldn't handle everything at once.
Perfect. Because communication isn't about using fancy vocabulary. It's about making yourself understood. And describing what you mean is a skill that even native speakers use constantly.
All right, let's bring this all together now. Imagine someone asks you, "So, how was your year?" Let me show you how a complete, natural response might sound.
Okay, I'll demonstrate. You know, it's been a mixed year, honestly. There were some really tough stretches, especially around mid-year when work got intense and I was barely sleeping. I felt like I was running on fumes. But there were also these beautiful moments that made it all worth it. Like this one evening when my family and I just sat together and talked for hours. No phones, no distractions, just real connection. I think what I learned most is that I need to be more protective of my time and energy. I can't keep saying yes to everything and everyone. Moving forward, I want to be more intentional about how I spend my days. Does that make sense?
That was perfect, Mark. And did you notice how conversational it was? He used real phrases like running on fumes, made it all worth it. And does that make sense at the end to check if the listener was following?
Right, and it wasn't rehearsed or stiff. It flowed naturally with pauses and real emotions. That's the goal, everyone.
Now, before we finish today, I want to give you some homework. Not the kind of homework you write down and forget, the kind that actually helps you speak better English.
Tonight or sometime this week, I want you to sit quietly with a cup of tea or coffee, and I want you to think about your year. Just think. Don't judge yourself. Don't try to make it sound good.
Think about one hard moment, one happy moment, and one thing you learned. And then I want you to say it out loud in English. Even if you're alone, even if it's not perfect, just speak.
You can start with the phrases we taught you today. One of the hardest moments was when... One moment that stands out is, this year taught me that...
And if you want to take it further, open your phone and record yourself speaking. You don't have to show it to anyone. Just listen back. You'll be surprised at how much English you actually know when you stop overthinking it.
And remember, you're not trying to impress anyone. You're learning to express your real life in English. That's what real fluency is.
You know, Mark, I think one of the biggest mistakes English learners make is thinking that learning English is only about grammar rules and vocabulary lists. But actually, it's about learning to be yourself in another language.
That's so true, Eva. And when you can talk about your year, your feelings, your life in English, that's when you know you're not just learning the language anymore. You're living it.
So to everyone listening right now, whether you're walking, cooking, commuting, or just lying in bed, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for choosing to improve yourself. That choice alone is something to be proud of.
And if this lesson helped you, please share it with someone who's also learning English, because the best way to remember what you learned is to teach it to someone else.
We'll see you in the next episode of Daily English Learn, where we'll continue helping you speak real, natural, confident English.
Until then, take care of yourself. Practice a little every day. And remember, progress is progress, no matter how small.
This is Eva.
And this is Mark.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep speaking. Bye for now.